Hi guys, welcome to the new video of this Linux tutorial series. In this video, we're gonna discuss the new command that will give us a very core information about the system and the hardware that we are using basically. So let me give you the command name. Before that, let me increase the size of this brush. So the command name is uname, and this command will give information about system and the hardware. Basically, what kind of information they give is like what OS we are using basically, and what what kernel we are using, and what is the release or version of kernel. Now what is the release version, everything we're gonna see, but let's move to the tutorial or the practical part of this. And it's very important, the very important thing about this session is the uname command is just a shortcut command, or I can say the user friendly command. Basically, we are running this command on user space side. If you don't know what is user space and kernel space, you can watch my third video. There I explain what is the user space, kernel space, and difference between them. So uname is a user space command basically, and it's calling some functions in the background. And those functions are what those functions are doing is those function is going to the kernel or to the hardware level, and they are getting information of kernel and hardware and giving to this command uname, and uname is showing us on a output screen. So uname is a kind of shortcut command, and it's getting information from some files basically. Now what are those files, let's discuss in this video. And it's very important to know those files. Why? Because let's say if you don't have access to uname files, or if you know those files, so as a admin or as a DevOps engineer, you can do multiple things that you can't achieve with this uname command. Or let's say if you want to check some information and multiple things, maybe you forget the command. If you know those files, you can retrieve the information and do your operations. So it's very important to know the files from where the uname is getting the information, or the basically the system information and the hardware information. So let's move to the console. So let me before that let me give you the syntax of uname is it's very similar to every command. So every command almost have similar syntax. So the command name, then options we have to give. Okay. Now let's see, if you don't give any option by default, if you don't give any option like only passing the command name, that is a uname, it will print our OS operating system name. So which operating system we are using? See, we are using Linux as an operating system, and let's discuss the next option of uname. Then I will tell you the files in Linux where from uname is getting those information. So first discuss those options. So first option is like -s. We're gonna see. So what -s will do is it will print the kernel name. Second option we're gonna discuss is the -r, that is print a kernel release. And third option we're gonna see is -v. First we will see these options, and what hyphen will do is it will print a kernel version. Now every software in your normal IT industry, or any in your mobile or any industry, normal software or normal application have multiple releases. Now what are those releases? It's a list. Let's say first Facebook is released, it's only a option or only a feature with chat or post, let's say. After that, Facebook announced those features, Facebook developers announced those features, and in the next release, or changing those features, or moving from one application to some only same application but some another features, if you are moving to another features of that application, so that part is basically known as release. So we are releasing a new version, or we are releasing a new features in the application. So let's say Facebook here developed the story part. We can now set a story on Facebook also. Third, what Facebook gonna do is they are doing a shorts part. We can create a shorts on Facebook also, like Instagram or YouTube. So these are called releases basically. So whenever the developer or the company adding a new feature to application, so and they are moving again to that application to a production environment, so that part is known as release, or that process is known as release. And every application they are releasing. So what release means? This is the application running on their production system. They made some changes in their local. They tested out those changes, and yeah, those features are working fine. So developers of Facebook decided that yes, this is a new feature trending in the market, we gonna come with this feature, So all the background things they done it, and then they decided to push that new features application with new features again to the production. Now the first application is not running the production, the second application is running the production. So the moving the application with new features or deploying application to the production environment is known as release. And what is the meaning of every release build test? So I'm gonna come with new playlist very soon, that is a CI/CD. In that we understand what is release, what are the testing, what is build, how end-to-end DevOps works, basically everything. But let's be with me for some like days, then we will start multiple things together. And another thing is version. So every application that is deploying to production is allocated with version. So just understand some difference here. Release is a process of deploying an application of deploying a Facebook application to the production environment or production server is known as release. The process of deploying an application is known as release, but that application have some version allocated. So we can identify, let's say in 1.1 version of Facebook, we have only chat option. In 1.1.1, let's say we come up with the post option. Let's say in 1.2, that is a major release. So major release means from 1.1.1 application or Facebook application is running on the production, we move this new version 1.2 to the production, and this 1.2 version is released on the new production server, have new features. What features they have? Let's say story. Again we done one more release on the production server with version 1.3, and this version have some different features like shorts. So that's what the difference between feature and version and release. So let's see one by one. So uname -r, if I do, it will print a kernel release, and if I do -v, it will print a version, basically the version of a kernel. Similarly, we have one more option. Using that, we can see the hardware type or the hardware name. So let me show it to you. So basically there are two type of operating system, or I can say there are two type of architecture OS follows, that is 32-bit and one is 60 to 64-bit. So if you don't know the difference between them, please comment down in the video that if you want to learn about the difference between 32-bit and 64-bit. But what when we are using an option with uname, that is -m, they are showing me the OS architecture, or you can say in very short form which type of architecture OS we have, like it is 32-bit or is this 64-bit. Now there are some differences in between both of them, but if the output of -m option is x8664, that means you are following a 64-bit standards. And if you get output like some around i686, that I don't get because I'm following the 64-bit. So if you get this i686 in your laptop, then it means 32-bit. So let's see. Yeah, we got x8664. X means architecture, and 8664 is some like standard denotation of any the architectures in the operating system we have. The next option we have in uname is -n. What -n will tell us about is the node name. So we are using some node. Node is basically nothing but a server. So here node is like server. Here the server means operating system, and operating system we are launched by VM as a technology, or we know it as a VM or the virtual machine. So it will tell the name of this OS or the server or this name of this node basically. So see, this is the name of this machine. Now if you want to see uh, all the things very togetherly, so there is an option called -a. See, it given us what is the operating system type you are using, what is the node name, what is the kernel release, what is the kernel version, and what is the standard architecture we are following. So this is odd. And one more option I want to tell you is -o. So what this -o will do is it will release our OS runtime, or basically which operating system we are running. So we are running with this Linux operating system. It's a name basically, and it's a operating system name. Basically, both the things are same only. Now the most point come here where we what if we have don't what if we don't have this command uname in your system, and we want to check all of this thing using some file. So uname is also doing the same thing. Uname is going to multiple files in the background for multiple options, and from that file it's fetching information and giving us on an output or console, basically console screen. Now what are those files? So there is a very one file in the distribution of let's say if you are using CentOS and Redhat, then the file name is etc os hyphen release. So this is only for CentOS or Redhat. If you are using some different distribution of Linux, let's say Ubuntu or some multiple are there, SUSE is there and multiple are there. So what file you can use is etc issue. So what it will tell is, it will tell us many information. Let's move to this. So I am doing cat over that file. See, from here what it giving me is the name of operating system you are using is Red Hat Linux Enterprise Server. What is the version of this Red Hat? So we have multiple versions like Red Hat 6, Red Hat 7, Red Hat 8. Inside 7 also we have multiple. Inside 8 we also have multiple. There is some ID to uniquely identify this operating system, and we have the pretty name is like a short name. Then we have multiple things like basically about the Red Hat is giving to us. But the main thing to come here is if you want to check which operating system version you are using, then this is the main thing you need to check, the version in this file. Now let's say I am doing -a again, and from where this let's say we check the version of operating system that is 7.5. I don't need that. So I need this all information from files. So how we can do is, first we need to go inside the proc folder. Inside proc folder we have sys means the system level thing, and inside that we have one folder kernel. We need to go inside a kernel. Basically we need this kernel things. Now kernel doesn't mean that uname is only showing kernel information. It is not like that. So we are going inside a kernel folder. That is just a name of folder. This folder name may be anything, like maybe with my name or maybe XYZ also. This is just a folder name, but it's related. We have to give a folder name in the in sense like by name we come to know what this folder is telling us. So that's why they kept as a kernel as a name. So it's telling us in the mind that if you want to get some kernel information, then you need to go inside that folder. But it's not like that. Uname is only giving a kernel level information. It's giving a OS level information, node name level information also, many things. But yeah, name is like can be anything, not an issue. But what uname is doing is, uname is calling background a function. That function calling is known as syscall in the Linux. Calling a function in the background is known as syscall. And what are the syscalls? In the lecture 2 or 3rd of mine you can know what is syscall and how many type of syscalls are there. So it's calling a function in the background, and that function is going to the kernel or OS level thing or hardware level to collect multiple information and giving to uname. So let's see, in this kernel we have how many files? So many files we have. But I know few of the files, like if you see here, let me show it to you. See, OS type, OS release, multiple type of files we have. So if we want to cat this, let's say I want to see my OS type. What is my OS type? See, Linux. What uname is giving to us is same output. See, if we want to check, let's say the OS release. So what this OS release is giving to us is, if you match, this is a kernel release. OS release, this is a file name. See, again the file name can be anything or option name can be anything. But to keep it simplified, OS release means basically kernel release. Why? Because the user or the developer of Linux can also kept as kernel release as a file name also. But what they done is they kept it simple as OS release. So user can understand. Basically, what user can understand is Linux is the name of operating system. If you want to check the Linux release, that means OS release. But as you all know, Linux is not OS, it's a kernel basically. So kernel is the heart of operating system or the Linux. So that's why kernel is like again like an operating system only, because most of the things kernel is doing for us in the background. That's why OS release. One more file I have here is, let's say, node name, something like that. Host name. Yeah, host name I have. See, it's giving whatever the output by uname we are getting in the -n option, it's giving the same. So here are the files. You can check the multiple files here and you can explore the things. But this is all about the uname as a command to get the system and operating system level information. If you like the video, subscribe the channel, and if you have any doubts, you can reach out to me LinkedIn, or you can post your doubts on the comment box. I will happy to answer your doubts. Thank you. Let's meet in the next video.